Welcome back, Focus Learners, to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into something that is going to completely shift your paradigm. What if I told you your mind is not actually you? Today, we are cracking open the hidden psychology, the absolute science of mental control that honestly, 99% of people never quite grasp. So settle in, lock your focus, and let's decode the mastery of the mind.
Seriously, think about that question for a second. What if your mind isn't actually you? We are so incredibly used to identifying with every little bit of chatter in our heads, right? But the thoughts bouncing around up there, the sudden emotions you feel, the random fears, the cravings, all those endless distractions? The crazy truth is, most of them are simply automatic programs running on autopilot inside your brain. You are the observer of these programs. You are not the programs themselves.
And here is why this matters so much. The top 0.01% of elite performers. We're talking the people who absolutely dominate business, war, sports, politics, you name it. They all understand one terrifying, undeniable truth. The person who controls their mind controls their reality. Period. For thousands of years, philosophers, monks, elite military strategists, and top-tier neuroscientists have all stumbled upon the exact same secret. Your mind is either your absolute greatest weapon or it's your absolute worst prison.
All right, moving into part 1. Your brain was built for survival, not happiness. Let's start with a hard biological truth. Your brain is ancient. Literally, it evolved to keep you alive in super dangerous environments, not to make you feel peaceful or focused or successful. In psychology, we call this the negativity bias. Because your brain's primary job is survival, it naturally scans the room for threats way more than it looks for opportunities. And this explains so much about human behavior, doesn't it? It's exactly why one single insult stings way more than 10 compliments combined, or why one minor failure can just totally wreck your motivation for weeks. Your brain is aggressively trying to protect you from harm, but by doing that, it constantly highlights the negative.
Now, layer the modern world on top of that. The modern world perfectly, almost ruthlessly, exploits this ancient wiring. While our ancestors were out there scanning the savannah for literal lions, today, every single notification, every short video, every incredibly sophisticated algorithm is actively fighting a war to hijack and control your dopamine system.
Because of this massive mismatch between our ancient brains and our modern environment, your mind naturally sabotages you. It overthinks. It constantly fears rejection. It desperately seeks comfort. It avoids pain at all costs, and it gets deeply, deeply addicted to cheap distractions. The average person walks around thinking they're making conscious, rational choices, but in reality, their ancient biological impulses are making those choices for them.
Which brings us right to part 2. Thoughts are not reality.
The ancient Stoic philosophers, guys like Marcus Aurelius, understood something thousands of years ago that modern neuroscience is just now confirming. And it's this idea: you suffer far more from your own internal interpretation than from reality itself. Think about it. A thought is literally just a tiny spark of electrical activity firing off inside your brain. It is not an absolute undeniable truth.
But what do? We humans treat passing thoughts as undeniable facts. We think, I'm not good enough, or I'm definitely going to fail, or oh man, everyone is judging me. Guys, these are not facts. They are mental predictions. They're just guesses your brain throws out there to try and protect you from potential harm. The highest performers in the world don't magically stop these thoughts. Instead, they train themselves to observe these mental guesses without blindly obeying them.
There's a formal scientific name for this. It's called meta-awareness. Essentially, it's the ability to step outside your own mind and watch your thoughts like a third-party observer. It's kind of like sitting in a movie theater and just watching your thoughts play out on the giant screen, without getting emotionally tangled up in the plot. Because once you can observe your mind like that, it stops controlling you. And let me tell you, that realization right there is the true beginning of mental freedom.
Let's keep building on this. Part 3. Attention is the real currency of power. Look, we always hear about power in terms of wealth or status, right? Most people just assume money is the ultimate power. But history actually proves a much deeper truth. Attention is power. Massive tech platforms, entire governments, massive corporations, religions, they're all fighting a silent war for one specific thing: your focus. Why? Because wherever your attention goes, your physical life energy literally follows.
And modern neuroscience totally backs this up through something called neuroplasticity. Basically, this is the process where your repeated, focused attention physically rewires your brain. I mean, literally, physically changes it. What you repeatedly think becomes so much easier to think next time. What you repeatedly feel becomes your default state. Whatever you repeatedly focus on actually builds the physical architecture of your mind.
So think about the compound effect here. If you focus daily on fear, your brain physically wires itself to be anxious. But if you focus daily on discipline, your brain wires itself to become incredibly powerful and resilient. The huge takeaway here? Your mind is not fixed, it's highly programmable. And every single day you are either programming it consciously or you're stepping back and letting the outside world program it for you.
All right, part 4, the hidden secret of emotional control. Let's talk about how the absolute best of the best, like historical samurai or modern special forces, handle intense pressure.
A lot of people have this huge misconception that they need emotional suppression, trying to completely eliminate fear or squash down their stress. But elite performers, they practice emotional control. This means acting correctly despite the fear. The goal isn't to magically eliminate emotion. Fear and doubt will always exist. The goal is to refuse to let that emotion dictate your behavior. So many people think confidence is just this magical trait you're born with. It's not. Confidence is just memory. It is a memory built from surviving difficult situations over and over again.
And this is exactly why high performers actively, deliberately seek out controlled suffering. I'm talking about taking freezing cold showers, pushing through brutal hard workouts, engaging in hours of deep, unbroken study, sitting in complete silence. By deliberately choosing these incredibly uncomfortable practices, you are teaching your brain a brand new default response. You're teaching it, hey, I can handle discomfort without running away. When your brain survives pressure repeatedly, it just stops panicking. You fundamentally rewrite your entire psychology.
Which leads us perfectly into part 5, your identity controls your actions.
Let's uncover one of the deepest, most profound truths in all of psychology regarding how we either achieve our greatest goals or totally sabotage ourselves. It's this quote right here. People do not rise to their goals, they fall to their identity. Think about it. You can set all the ambitious goals you want, but if you secretly believe, deep down in your core, I'm just a lazy person, or I'm weak, or I'm always unlucky, your brain will unconsciously force you to act in alignment with that hidden identity. Your mind will drag you right back down to who you genuinely believe you are.
The highest performers fix this glitch by completely reshaping their identity itself. Instead of saying, I really want success, they shift from wanting to being. They tell themselves, I am becoming disciplined. I am a relentless learner. I am someone who always finishes what they start. The subconscious mind has absolutely no choice but to obey those repeated identity signals. Remember, every single action you take is just a daily vote that actively rewrites your self-image.
And that brings us to our conclusion, the greatest battle in human history. We're wrapping up this explainer on a huge note because the ultimate defining battle in human history, it isn't happening in politics, it's not in economics, and it's definitely not in technology. It is happening entirely, exclusively inside the human mind. The tragic reality is that the average person spends their entire life just reacting to fleeting emotions, reacting to endless pings and distractions, reacting to fear, and reacting to whatever society expects of them. But you have an alternative. A rare few actually learn to pause, to observe the chaos, and to consciously direct their minds. When you can do that, distractions lose their grip on you, fear loses its control, and your future stops being an accident.
I want you to remember this one phrase regarding your internal programming. The mind is a terrible master, but an extraordinary servant. If you just let your ancient biological impulses and the modern attention economy run the show, your mind is going to master you. It will dictate everything. But if you take the reins and consciously direct it, it becomes an extraordinary servant, one that absolutely dictates the ultimate quality of your life.
So it really all comes down to this one lingering question. Which one will yours become? A terrible master or an extraordinary servant? That choice and the daily programming required to make it happen is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, Focused Yearners. Take control of your mind, and I will see you next time.